shake it this time. Did it change color yet? Did you fertilize those already? Yeah, that's sure a lot of lettuce. Oh, look at all those white things. What are these little white things? They're eggs. These things? Look at this. Look at this. Tiny, 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 tiny. What is this?
Be very accurate in your measurements.
What is this called?
Good question.
Oh, it looks like some kind of material that they use for heavy blankets or something. It's kind of...
Project Life Lab is an elementary school science and nutrition program that's uniqueness is based around the garden. It's a program that's taught both inside the classroom and outside in the garden, where the kids get to experience the science they're learning.
In 1982, the National Science Teachers Association began what they're calling a search for excellence in science education. And that first year, they identified 6 programs in the whole country that had the criteria that they thought were important for an excellent science program. Life Lab was identified as one of the 6 centers of excellence nationwide. And the California School Boards Association also has honored Life Lab with their Golden Bell for being the best elementary science program in the state. Traditionally, girls have not succeeded in science to the degree that boys have. But with Life Lab, girls have been very motivated in studying science. They have mentioned, for instance, that they're very interested in science after 3 months in the program. They're very enthusiastic about it. And also they feel that in studying science in the future, they will be able to help solve science-related world problems. And we're very encouraged by that.
Think about the things that we as adults like to do. We like to do things that are going to have impact on our environment, that we can see a product from. Well, the kids are no different, and with Life Lab they get to learn by doing, and they have a tremendous impact on the garden. The kids at Green Acres School saw it change from a parking lot, a dirt parking lot, to a beautiful garden that they could take a lot of pride in. And they did. They would bring their parents in after school to see what they're growing and what they're doing. They would bring their food home. So it really was an integrated part of their life.
We think that what's really special about Life Lab is how it teaches children that science relates to their own lives and to their own communities. And it's brought in community members to the science program as volunteers, to make donations, to build the program. So it's really become a community program rather than just a school program.
It's being done in every type of school, from inner city urban schools to rural settings to suburban settings, with every type of kid. To me, the garden is a setting where you could teach anything.
What we're doing right here is we're taking some compost and we're putting it in this bag, and it's for an experiment. We're going to put 5 things in it that we think that we want to find out when they will rot, and if they'll rot fast or slow, or what happens to them.
Do you have any idea what might happen to them?
No, not really. I don't know. I've never done anything like this.
I had 2 major concerns. One was that the soil conditions here were so poor that I really did not think that a garden could be established here and be successful. Because, like I said, this area out here, the soil was just terrible. The weeds didn't do well out here, and I just felt that I just couldn't see how they could really get a successful garden out here because of those conditions. I was also wondering about beginning a program like this for 2 years, having it funded, and then having the funds gone, and having it not be able to continue because of the funding problem, and that all that time, energy, work would be gone. And yes, we knew it was going to take extra meetings and extra time and extra planning, but it was well worth it to do that. It really would have been a shame had it folded up after 3 years. but that didn't happen. Life Lab became very popular with the staff and with parents and principals and the community. They really wanted it to go on, and so it has.
The only thing that I can say is just to encourage other districts to do this, and once they start, they will see the enthusiasm of the children, and it does come back into the classroom. That enthusiasm will come back into the classroom while we're teaching other lessons. And they write, oftentimes I'll have an English lesson that has something to do with gardening, and I'll get far more response when they can do something that they have done outside and come back in, and we write about it, which is my English lesson for the day.
What kind of gases do we have in the atmosphere that are very central to us? Tim?
The plant breathes out oxygen, and that's what we breathe. And we breathe out carbon dioxide, and that's what they breathe.
Or could we call this a gas? Is it a gas?
Yeah.
How many of you would like to see this reflection? Okay. And I think to put Life Lab into a city, if that is possible, and some cities are trying to do that, I think it would be fantastic for those children. And you have to start it on a small basis.
Okay, and you want to make a drawing. If you want to make a drawing.
Our garden is in a very narrow, sloping city lot. And one of the problems is that we had to terrace our garden so that we could get our children in here safely. Originally it was on a 60% slope, and now that it's complete terrace, every bedding area is pretty level so that the children can walk. We had to coordinate the work for the children and for our staff, and then we just had to put a lot of time, energy, and sweat into the whole project. For some children who have never done any gardening and find that gardening is rather foreign to their experiences, we do have to work very hard to help them become acquainted with just simply the concept of gardening. We just find that the garden's a very exciting place to be in. The children do too.
The community involvement segment of the Project Life Lab program at Happy Valley School is a critical part of our program, and it's one of the main reasons the program has been as successful as it is. I think the partnership between parents and the school increases community pride and school pride, and there's a great deal amount of awareness by the students as well as the parents as to what is happening here at Happy Valley School. And once they come down to see what's happening in the science program, they also become familiar with other aspects of what's happening here in our little school.
Well, just about everything you see here, from the beds, the plants, the greenhouses, have all had tremendous community input in terms of helping us make decisions about how to build things and also the actual building themselves.
Teachers, because they're responsible for a class each day, do not have the time and energy to put in above and beyond in terms of building the planter beds, the compost boxes, the greenhouses, and many of the other things that need to happen. And with that kind of a partnership between the community and the teaching staff at the school, it has enabled the project to come about in a much shorter period of time than we would have been able to pull off with just school people. Foster Farm has developed a new compost and was very interested in having the compost tested in the schools by children, and so they were most anxious to make a donation.
It was kind of interesting how it happened. My husband is in the business, he's an architect, and he does only schools, and a man from a subsidiary of Foster Farms came into him and asked him if he would field test this material that he brought into him so that he would specify it for his different projects. And he brought it home to me and told me that if we wanted, there would be some of this available, and were we interested? And I said I was very interested, and so I followed it up, and they donated 40 yards of this material for us to use. And those are the kinds of things that keep a program like this going, because that was a considerable donation that we wouldn't have had the money to go out and buy.
they were embarking on a barn project at Life Lab, and asked if I would consider being involved in it. And I thought that was a great idea. It was a venture I undertook out of the spirit of community participation and community service. After my design involvement with the project, I was asked to serve on the board of Life Lab and spent 2 years helping develop policy and guidelines for the program, which was very rewarding. Probably the most reward was going to the dedication and being there with the children and realizing the extent that they enjoyed the end product, and being able to evaluate and see the whole program in place. Very, very exciting.
Why don't they have horns? Well, when they're really young, they get dehorned by, you get a hot iron and you stick it on about here and you burn it so it won't grow back.
We call it Food Lab because we wanted to coordinate their existence with Life Lab, which started at the school a few years ago. Basically, it's a program designed for children to be involved in their nutrition, to be involved in their meal preparation, and it also coordinates curriculum. It's another way that children can use their environment to learn by. They're producing something for the whole school, and it's something that has to get done. So it's like a job. It's a real job. It's not just a fake, artificial thing. The food has to be done. It has to be out for them to eat. You know how children are. They groan about work, and yet if you ask them to stop, they say, no. I mean, it's like anyone. They'll be needing a whole bunch of bread, and it'll be a lot of work, but they'll be really enjoying it. Self-esteem of children who are often not as good academically have a real good opportunity in this program to excel.
What I really like about the program, and I think what's really valuable to the children, is they find a real practical way to use their skills, whether they're the math skills and they're multiplying fractions in the kitchen, or their science skills, or even reading, all the things that come into play in these different programs. It's a real practical way of using it, and there's a purpose for it, and they see that. It's not just something out of a book. Now they're eating salad. I mean, we've got them eating salad because they grew the lettuce, and they like it.